It was a good day. It's a little different than it was 4 or 5 years ago when you weren't able to work with them and have practices during the summer. Now we were limited to 2 hours a week of skill work during the summer, but you could have the whole team out there, so we were able to get some team concepts in. But in terms of, I felt a great enthusiasm with this group. You always worry because you've been working from April through September with your guys that maybe there's no excitement with the first day of official practice, but I sensed it today. They came out, they're ready to play. We got essentially eight newcomers. We got 3 red shirts that sat out last year, 5 newcomers. That's 8 guys that have never worn a jersey for us this year. So there's that fresh energy, but there's also an urgency with this group to get those guys up and organized and ready to play as soon as possible.
Every guy we talked to said defense has to get better. Probably they got that from you.
No, that comes from me. And that was something that you look at last year where we didn't get where we wanted to get. Was we need to finish critical possessions down the stretch of season, and in conference play, people shot it on us better than we needed, than we wanted them to shoot it on us, and there's a lot of small details and just a toughness about us that we got to have to get stops down the stretch of games. Last year we led in the second half of every single conference game. And so it's about, during critical possessions, just getting stops, getting rebounds, getting stops, and having a toughness about us on the defensive end.
How do you go about kind of developing that toughness on the defensive end? You watched you guys last year, and offense kind of seemed easy for you, but how do you go about kind of instilling that toughness, that discipline on the defensive end of the floor?
Well, that's something that we're searching for every day. It starts with just being a mindset. It starts with the message that I have. It's something that we've worked on more defense this summer than ever before. I've always taken the off season of kind of working on getting up shots, just offensive skill work, but I recognize with all of these newcomers, and that's the toughest transition getting to the next level is defense, and just changing our mindset or adjusting our mindset to getting stops. And so we did a lot of the fundamentals this summer. It starts with putting pressure on the ball. It starts with having a pride, just caring about getting a stop. It starts with getting into your gaps, and then just your flat-out one-on-one defense. And so we did a ton of closeout work this summer, whether it was live playing one-on-one this summer, or it was in conditioning drills to where we didn't have a basketball, just working on the closeout footwork. So, I feel like we did a ton of work this summer, but we're nowhere near where we need to be successful this season.
When you look at your core and you look at how many guys, how much you can depend on that core, and how quick do the new guys have to step up?
They need to step up really, really quickly. You heard me stop practice a number of times referencing retrain dailies. That's a term in our program where maybe we taught something to one individual, and we have 13 other team members, and that person didn't listen, and it happens immediately on that next possession. Maybe it was a situation where we demonstrated a drill and then the third guy in line didn't execute exactly right. And so, that's a message that whether it would have showed up today, I was going to figure out a way to make it show up, because it's critical that we are focused in. Every time a coach stops practice, we're locked in, we're focused, we're listening, and if I'm teaching one or one of our coaches is teaching one, we're teaching 13 others. So we need those guys to really get better each day than they were the day before, and we have a good base, like you said. 6 guys that played significant minutes for us, particularly 3 or 4 of those guys that played significant minutes, major minutes. But we need some guys to step up and have kind of Case and Harrell sophomore years. Guys that didn't play a ton the year before, but they come out, and then you look at Case and ends up essentially, I think he was 7th in the nation in 3-point shooting if he had enough attempts. And so kind of came off of a year where he played in, I don't know, half a dozen to a dozen games, really no significant minutes as a freshman, and then he works his tail off and then has a significant contribution, starts every game as a sophomore.
Offensively, obviously you bring back several guys that can put the ball in the basket, but Mo Evans had one of the highest assist rates in the entire country last year. How do you go about trying to replace him at the point guard spot? What will your point guard spot look like this year? Or are you still trying to figure that out a little bit?
Well, some of that will be growth with 8 newcomers, 5 total newcomers, and then coming off of an off season where I think guys developed a lot. We'll figure that out on the fly as we go. you guys saw Jon Coffman play the point a lot last year. You saw it at the end of the Indiana game. Whenever Mo would get in foul trouble, he was our backup point. And you're going to see him playing a lot of point guard this year, but try not to wear him out too much. Matt Weir, a newcomer, is going to challenge that spot. Really a skilled player, good head on shoulders. And then Chris Rollins, who redshirted for us, has been in the program for a year. Has added strength, has really worked on his jump shot, knocking that down. And so, between those three, you'll see, you have Bryson Scott who can handle the ball. You have Case and Harrell. I mean, we recruit a lot of guys that can handle it and could play that spot in a pinch. And really, at the end of the day, we, other than on made baskets, which we're hoping to shrink the made baskets on us, missed baskets, it's whoever gets it brings it. And we play motion most of the time, probably 80-85% of the game. So that's just, an equal opportunity offense. It doesn't necessarily take a point guard to do that. You're not going to play Mo Evans. I mean, he had 4 years. You look back to that Dayton game where, we were up 5 with 30 seconds left on a team that went to the Elite Eight. And I think he had 4 or 5 threes in that game, his first college game. And we knew we had something special. And, when you look back at who we lost with Brent Calhoun and Mo Evans and D'Angelo Stewart, I mean, that's the winningest senior class in school history. Over the 5 years we had Brent, it's 101 wins. So replacing that group is not possible. It's just guys stepping in, filling the cracks, and creating a new identity. But it'll be similar style basketball with how we're unselfishly sharing the basketball.
With the newcomers and the number of people you've gotten from academies, how valuable is that experience between high school and coming in here?
I think having that extra year to let your body mature, to play at a high competitive level is really helpful. I mean, a great example is Jax Levitch, who broke into to the lineup for significant minutes down the stretch of the season. He played at Elevate. Down in South Florida, and I think that really helped him. And I think it helped him with the longevity of the season because he was dealing with travel, he was dealing with being away from home, and he was a guy who didn't play a lot early, but he kept showing up early, kept staying late, kept working on his game late at night, always sat on the edge of the bench, never gave in to his role, and then watched every opportunity that he got. He seized it. And next thing you know, he's playing significant minutes down the stretch of the season. So I think, we'll see that sort of maturity out of those 3 young men that went to prep school last year.
You're still about a month and a half out from your first game. Obviously, with practice, seems like starts early and earlier every year. Do you like having this kind of time as a coach where you guys can just focus on yourself for a while and going off of that? What do you most hope to accomplish here in the next month and a half before that first game?
The off season, the summer, where there's no pressure of scouting reports and focusing on that. I love that time. The first 2 weeks of the season where there's no urgency of if you don't get this in, you're going to lose the game tomorrow. I mean,
right.
We're just looking at winning plays. We're looking at ourselves. We're looking at building our identity. I love this time of year. We do start on the first day. I want to kind of spread it out. I also believe, and this is a program that's played in 4 straight postseasons. Last year we were playing, it was either Saturday or Sunday before the Final Four in the postseason. Like, it's long seasons for us. So, we do give a lot of 2-day weekends as we go through. We're allowed to start 42 days before the start of the season. We're allowed 30 practices. So, we worked hard this week, did a ton of conditioning, continued our 4 days of lifts, 2 sessions of yoga, a ton of conditioning, ton of agility work, our 2 hours of skill work and shots. Guys were in here a ton, and then we practice hard today. We're going to give them off 2 days. And, that way we're always in here Monday through Friday, getting our work in. They don't feel like the season starts for a couple weeks when we start throwing in some Saturday scrimmages or some Saturday practices, things like that. So, I'm excited for this time of year. I really enjoy this coaching and focusing on our team.